In tonight's headlines, the United Christian Hospital apologizes for the death of an elderly patient after nurses failed to conduct a check. Retail sales barely remained in positive territory last month, despite an influx of tourists.
2 years.
And Financial Secretary Paul Chan insists that the Kau Yi Chau reclamation project will go ahead after a delay of 2 to 3 years.
The United Christian Hospital has apologized for the death of an 89-year-old pneumonia patient after nurses failed to carry out a check. The man was sent to the accident and emergency unit last Tuesday for vomiting and fever and was transferred to the emergency medicine ward the next day. But on Thursday morning, he had stopped breathing and had no pulse. The man was pronounced dead after resuscitation efforts failed. The hospital's chief of service, Sunny Wong, said nurses checked the patient's vital signs just once, even though a doctor ordered checks every 4 hours. This was because a nurse did not input the doctor's instructions into the e-vital system, which reminds medics to conduct checks. The system was introduced in the ward only in January.
She has carried out nearly every other orders that the doctor instructed, like giving intravenous fluid, antibiotics, and also checking the blood sugar regularly for this patient. But just for this single point that the nurse actually have not entered into the system, probably because of the busy work, the nurse have to deal with several jobs together, and maybe we can really say this is she just forget to do this job.
The nurse, who has over 10 years' experience, and 2 colleagues are currently on leave. Wong said it is likely that the man suffocated from his vomit. An investigation committee has been set up and the case has been passed to the coroner. Janice Low, Cable News.
Retail sales in Hong Kong in January rose 0.9% from a year ago to $36.5 billion. The pace of growth was the slowest in 14 months, despite an uptick in purchases by tourists. Sales usually jump before the Lunar New Year, but this time the festival fell in February. Alcoholic drinks and tobacco sales surged 104%. Purchases of jewelry, watches, and clocks and valuable gifts rose by 25%, as did medicines and cosmetics. But consumers held back on electrical and other durable goods, which fell 26%. Department stores also suffered a hit, with their sales falling 9.2%. Bon Law, the executive director of the Retail Management Association, said Hong Kong welcomed more tourists, but their spending power declined. The local retail sector also lost business to Hong Kongers traveling to the mainland.
The association is prudent about the outlook for 2024. We expect retail sales to experience a single-digit or even low double-digit decline in the first half of the year. There are a number of factors affecting the industry, such as the increasing trend of Hong Kong people traveling to the mainland, a strong Hong Kong dollar, and weak renminbi, and a drop in local spending due to the weak economy.
But the government is optimistic that mega events and higher numbers of tourists will boost the retail sector. Maisie Mock, Cable News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan has again stressed that although the land reclamation project for Kau Yi Chau has been shelved, the authorities are determined to complete the plan. Taking to the airwaves this morning, he said the project, which was originally scheduled to kick off next year, will be delayed by 2 to 3 years while feasibility studies are conducted and reviewed.
Over the past 2 years, we have received suggestions from different parties as to how to put this forward, including private investments or subcontracting the whole project to private consortiums. That is an idea. If we are going to go down that route, it may not cost that much in terms of government spending. But on the other hand, we want to have certain control over the land supply, say for example, in this new created area. So we are trying to balancing this and looking into different options available to us.
According to the latest budget, the government will rake in $1.8 billion in the coming fiscal year from the waste charging scheme. That is double the original estimate of between $800 million and $1 billion. Environment and Ecology Minister Tin Wan was asked to explain the big discrepancy. He said an industry survey was conducted to predict the situation in August, when the charging scheme kicks in.
We use an estimate that about half of the population, we use designated bags. That is not too optimistic nor pessimistic. The government has pledged before that the purpose of waste charging is not to generate revenue by itself. Yeah, and therefore we will spend roughly the same amount of money gathered to support the waste reduction and also the recycling activities in Hong Kong.
The West Kowloon Cultural District Authority has issued an ultimatum to the government. This comes after its chairman, Henry Tang, said officials have not responded to his plan to prevent the arts hub from running out of funds in the middle of next year. Tang told the Singtao Daily that he cannot wait and will make his own decision in June. The cultural center might sell part of its land or use other methods to shore up funding, Tang added. Culture Minister Kevin Yeung said he is still studying the proposal and will respond soon. During a press conference on the budget, Yeung was asked about the economic benefits of holding monthly pyrotechnic and drone shows over Victoria Harbour. He said it would not be easy to estimate how much money will be generated, but noted that the cost of each performance is lower than a fireworks display.
In the long run, I'm sure that it will bring more tourists to come to Hong Kong, will promote Hong Kong as favorite tourist spots in all over the world, and that will, of course, in the long term, bring economic benefits to Hong Kong.
Dane Zhang, the Tourism Board's executive director, said various sectors have welcomed the pyrotechnic shows starting in May or June, as they will make the city more attractive at night. The government has earmarked $871 million for the Tourism Board to lure visitors. Maisie Mock, Cable News.
There's been widespread condemnation after Israeli troops in Gaza opened fire, triggering panic as starving Palestinians waited for food. At least 112 people were killed and nearly 300 wounded. The health ministry in the besieged enclave condemned what it called a massacre, saying many victims were shot in the head. Israel claimed that the deaths occurred when 8 trucks hit the Palestinians who surrounded the vehicles, desperately trying to get food. A witness said Israeli tanks advanced and ran over many of the people who had fallen. The Kamal Adwan hospital struggled to cope with the large number of casualties, and doctors had to perform surgeries on the floor.
This outrageous, massacre is a testimony to the fact that as long as the Security Council is paralyzed and vetoes casted, then it is costing the Palestinian people their lives.
More than 30,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed in Israeli attacks since October.
A day after a fire in Bangladesh killed 45 people and injured dozens, investigators gathered at the 7-story building to find out the cause. The building in an affluent part of the capital, Dhaka, was badly damaged. The blaze began in a popular restaurant last night and quickly spread to the upper floors, trapping scores of people. Firefighters rescued at least 75 people and brought the blaze under control in 2 hours. The victims were rushed to hospital, where about 20 of the injured remain in critical condition.
China's factory activity shrank for the 5th straight month, confirming worries that demand remained weak more than a year after Beijing ended its COVID lockdown. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index stood at 49.1 last month. A reading above 50 indicates growth, and that hasn't been achieved since last September. But economists suggest the February survey may not fully reflect market sentiment, as most factories were shut down during the Lunar New Year holidays. The non-manufacturing index, which measures activity in the services and construction sectors, improved to 51.4, buoyed by the travel peak. All eyes are now on the top leaders to roll out further policy support as they convene for the National People's Congress next week.